Hi, my name is Lauren Greenfield. I'm here on behalf of Salesforce to meet with you today.
Hi, I'm Madeline. It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Here's my business card.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Just before we begin, is there anyone else that needs to be here today?
Nope, I'm pretty sure that me just being here is fine.
Okay, great. And I have 20 minutes scheduled. Is that the correct amount of time? Are you good with that?
That's perfect. That's what I have allocated for today, so we're good.
Okay, awesome. And I'm going to need to ask some questions. I've already gathered some background information, but I'm just going to need to fill in the blanks and just verify that the information that I've gathered is correct. Is that okay with you today?
Absolutely. I think that's great.
Okay, awesome. And I've put together an agenda that's covering three topics that I really want to go over today. So I printed it out for us for our convenience so we can follow it along throughout the meeting. So if you look to the left, these are the topics that I really want to cover revolving around your company. So those three are lack of new client follow-up, incorrect customer and client billings, and then miscommunication just overall. Do those sound like relevant topics to go over today?
Absolutely. I think that these are issues that our company has been facing in the past couple of months, maybe even years, and definitely things that we need to address. This agenda looks great. I really appreciate you preparing so much for this.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to let you know that the goal of today is for me to be of use to your company and just really allow you guys to be the best it can. And so I really just want to be able to uncover things that will help you guys succeed. So that's really my goal of today. And I just want to verify that you're not currently using a CRM system, correct?
We are not, no.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. So just to dive right in, if you look at the first implication that I've outlined, we talked about lack of new client follow-up. So I've talked with a couple of your employees at different locations and in your Nashville and Athens location specifically, and they've expressed that there's been a lack of follow-up with new clients and that's really posing a big threat on their on the new customer return rates. Would you say that ever leads to lost business for you guys?
Absolutely. I also, from what I understand, I have been seeing a lack of follow-up consistently across locations, and I mean, honestly, I think it just might be because of how overworked our employees are. The hard part is that we are expanding, we're a growing company, and so, we have to address these issues that weren't as big of a problem when we were smaller, but I definitely think that it's harder for them to tackle these problems because they have so many other priorities to cover, but I can definitely see how there would be a large loss of business due to the lack of follow-up.
Yeah, and your company has been growing, which is great, but obviously sometimes there are growing pains, and this just seems to be one of the things that may have gotten pushed under the rug a little bit. But on better news, from what we have seen, when your company does have the resources to follow up, return rates from new clients increased by 73%, which is a really great number. But obviously this isn't happening as much as it should. So do you think there is room for Southern Professional Office Supply to increase your revenue by implementing a follow-up system?
Absolutely. I mean, even if you're analyzing our past transactions and they're showing that kind of data, I think absolutely it's clearly an area that we could improve upon. If our employees had the bandwidth to handle that, then I definitely think that we could do so and just generate more revenue and more consumer loyalty.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and just diving a little deeper, some of the information that I've also discovered through your financial reports, new clients actually make up 10% of your current revenues.
Okay.
So that's about $58 million. Would you say that that's correct?
I would say that I think that it's pretty similar. I think on average our new clients make up about 7% of sales.
Okay.
But still same ballpark, I think.
Okay, so do you mind if I just recalculate that number so we can be accurate in the numbers that we're collecting today, just so I can deliver accurate information for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to clarify, $583 million and 7% of that rounds out to be about $41 million. So would you say that that's fair to say that you're losing about $41 million due to not following up with your new clients?
Excuse me. Unfortunately, yes, I would say that would probably be correct.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we're on the same page. Are you good to move on to the second topic of discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the second topic of discussion that I wanted to cover with you today is revolving around your incorrect customer and client billings. So we've discovered that not only does this hinder a creation of correct financial reports, it also kind of creates a lack of trust and just a taint in your brand image, just because consumers aren't getting consistent and correct billings. So some consumers may be paying more, while as other consumers may be paying less, and then also it's not accurately reflected in your financial reports. So just a combination of all of those things, how often would you say that turns your consistent clients away if they were to experience an incorrect billing?
I mean, obviously I don't have the numbers exactly, but I do know that we've been struggling with consumer loyalty and consumer retention. It's hard to try and justify with people a simple mistake, because I think that that's really what it is, and it's a just kind of miscommunication. And we don't want people to think we're going behind their backs, but anytime that there's any sort of repeated inaccuracy, especially with money and with financials, like, it just doesn't look too good, and that's really hard to keep people coming back to a company that's doing that to them.
No, I totally get that, and obviously there's no intention behind it. I think it's just a lack of structure that could easily be fixed. And the good news for you guys is we've mentioned a little bit that your company has grown over the past year, specifically 8% from the previous year to this year. However, because of the incorrect billings, we've seen that there's been a loss in client contract renewal, and altogether the loss of those consistent clients makes up about 2% of drops in your revenue.
Okay.
Meaning that you're losing almost $11.5 million due to this problem, just from the repeated inaccuracies and clients not wanting to renew because of incorrect billings. Do you think that if you were able to really pinpoint this problem and fix the incorrect billings and inconsistency, that you would be able to capture more growth, more than just 8% over the past year, to a higher percentage by really nailing this on the head and just like addressing it and fixing it moving forward?
I definitely think that we could increase revenues some more, and we just need the clients to enthusiastically return each year.
Yeah, so I definitely think that that's possible, just by really like honing in on this issue and addressing it and moving forward, because you guys are growing and that's so great, and you would be able to grow even more with recognizing this. One other issue revolving around this topic that we've discovered is, unfortunately for you, a large portion of the incorrect billings are actually charging consumers for less than what they purchased. So for you, that means that money's being left on the table.
Okay.
And this is also frustrating for clients because it is another form of inconsistency. Like, oh, if we place an order for X amount of products this time and we get paid this much, and then the same order is placed in the future and they have to pay more, it just generates confusion and frustration. So would you agree that because of this inconsistency, it could potentially damage your reputation as well as limit your needed revenue to potentially expand? I know you guys are looking at expanding into Florida. Combined, do you think that these are issues that are relevant for this topic?
I mean, absolutely. With wanting to extend our brand image and with wanting to expand into a new state, I definitely think that having kind of just like a sort of tainted reputation is not a good thing, just in general. But also, we're losing out on revenues that could help us to be building and could help us to really tap into these opportunities that we have. And I don't think that it would necessarily be wise at this point, if this is the kind of revenue cost that we're looking at, to be able to do this. So we definitely do rely on that to make new business ventures.
Okay, yeah. Well, the good news is that you definitely have the potential to recapture and just solidify that correct billings are being handled. But would you agree that all the numbers that we went over with revolving around incorrect billings seem aligned with what you have seen with your company?
I definitely think so.
Okay, great. So moving on to the third topic that I've discussed today is miscommunication.
Okay.
So I've discussed with a couple of your store employees at different locations, specifically Mark, John, and Anna. I've talked with all of them, and basically from what I've heard, there's just a general consensus of miscommunication between store locations and headquarters. And really where this miscommunication is affecting the company most is with communicating deliveries for orders, as well as communicating when products are out of stock. There's just not a system that allows there to be uniformity between all of your store locations as well as your headquarters. So I was just curious if you have seen an effect on uniform business practices across your locations just through not having a consistent delivery schedule and having the issues of out-of-stock products.
I mean, unfortunately, definitely. I think that miscommunication is something that we do struggle with, and that's again not helpful as we're trying to maintain a large business. So I think that first and foremost, you hit the nail on the head. We are having a really big problem with that, but I think that our main issue is just that we don't have a uniform process to kind of share information like the delivery schedule, like the out-of-stock thing, and I think that it's really hard because a lot of those out-of-stock situations that we're experiencing are with some of our top products, and so we're really missing out on availability to tap into certain revenues because we're missing some of our top products that people consistently come back and buy, and then also that probably causes people to look for those items elsewhere and turn away from business, so it's tough.
Yeah, I can definitely see how this is a relevant issue. Mark, John, and Anna all reiterated that, so you guys are all on the same page as that. Another issue that I saw was at most of your store locations, this information is only accessible through a computer desktop, through a software and a system that's only accessible at that computer at that time. So employees, if they're out on the deck and just seeing these products, and if they're running around, they're not going to be on the same page just because the only way this information is accessible is through that one computer. So would you say that the lack of modern communication has had an effect on your business practices through the antiquated systems that are currently at your store locations?
Absolutely, and I think that we have been trying to kind of look into a new system potentially, because as you've stated, we recognize that antiquated system is what's costing us a lot. So I think that we definitely need to update our systems to kind of keep track of order volume and inventories. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see this kind of suffering.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, just the inability to know when products are out of stock has not only led to lost sales for you, but potentially consumers going to find products elsewhere. So really diving into those numbers, what we saw was out of stock products make up about 4% of your sales, when they are in stock. Okay. So because those products are not available, it's losing about $23 million. So would you say that is a correct number, that some of your most popular products that are typically out of stock make up about 4% of your sales?
I mean, that would definitely make sense. That adds up, unfortunately, again.
Yeah. No, okay, well, I'm glad that we're all on the same page. Do you have any other questions revolving around miscommunication or any of the other topics that I brought up today?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. So just before we move forward to maybe a couple solutions that could really hone in and fix these problems for you, we discussed with lack of new client follow-up, with the 7% of new clients that are not returning, you're losing around $41 million per year. Okay. And then with the incorrect customer and client billings, you're losing about $11.5 million. And what we just discussed, miscommunication, you're losing out on about $23 million. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that is correct.
Okay. So if you notice at the bottom of the sheet, all of those numbers added up round to be $75,780,000. So unfortunately, these are the costs that have been left on the table, but the good news for you is that we have some solutions that can fix these problems, and I'm really excited to be able to share those with you today. Are you ready for that?
I am very ready, and obviously, that's a hard number to hear, but like I said, I appreciate you doing all this research and looking into it, because clearly we're facing some losses that really, really need to be counteracted.
Okay, great. So if you focus your eyes towards the right side of the agenda, starting with number 1, this benefit of Salesforce is really addressing the lack of new client follow-up that we discussed. So luckily, Salesforce has an application for account and client management, and this really just simplifies the process for you. It organizes your clients, it organizes their past histories and their accounts. So this would really just like automate and modernize the experience for your employees. I know that you mentioned that right now they're kind of dealing with a lack of available time and resources to follow up with the clients. But luckily our account and contact management would really simplify this process for them and organize your relationships better with your customers. So this process would allow your employees to access that and really automate the process of following up with new clients. And if you look, it's by just implementing this alone, it could increase your revenues from 583 million to about 624 million, which is just great response just for this one sole issue alone. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions revolving that?
No, I mean, everything makes perfect sense. That would be great, obviously, to be able to capture all of that revenue.
Okay, awesome. And then the second benefit that Salesforce has that I think would really benefit your company is the reports and dashboards. I really think that this would complement and help solve the incorrect customer and client billings that you're currently experiencing. It builds customized reports and it's shared among different stores. So all stores are consistent on billings, on contacts and their accounts and what they've purchased. So billings stay up to date and it really eliminates room for confusion. If clients were to order something from a different store, it would still keep all of their orders intact and checked, so they would be accurately billed for whatever they purchase, and it really keeps track of inventory, so we would make sure that there would be no money left on the table for you, which is unfortunately an issue that we discussed earlier.
Absolutely.
And then another thing that this does is it forecasts reports and charges. So in terms of your company, it could improve accuracy with reporting what clients are expected to return and what they're supposed to purchase. So this can really help with your inventory and as well just like understanding your clients on a better basis. We talked about how the incorrect billings could unfortunately lead to lack of trust, but these reports and dashboards would really allow you to get to know your customer better and be able to create a better relationship with them, which would strengthen your relationship, strengthen their trust, as well as just create a really great brand image for you overall. So I really think that this would be a great option for you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, that sounds great.
Okay, awesome. And then moving on to the third benefit that I really wanted to cover, Salesforce is a completely cloud-based system, and it's a software that allows reports to be centralized. So you mentioned that you have antiquated systems right now, and we kind of discovered that with some of your store managers and how that's just creating issues with you overall with formulating a routine delivery schedule, as well as understanding what products are in inventory and when they're out of stock. So the good news is this allows all employees that have a license access wherever they are at any device.
Okay.
So like I said, if some employees are on the floor and not in the back office where that one computer is currently stored, the information will be up to date and it will be communicated back with headquarters. So all the information is consistent, the delivery schedules will be consistent, and it will just eliminate overall confusion and miscommunication that you're really experiencing right now, which in turn I think would really help with your expansion into your new office, just because obviously your company is growing and we can't have miscommunication if you're looking to expand. That's just more employees to keep track of, more inventory to keep track of, and more delivery schedules. So I really think that this cloud-based system could really help you guys in your expansion and in your current efforts. And it would also solve that 4% of out of stock that we mentioned earlier, which attributes to $23 million of your current revenues. Does that sound correct to you? And do you have any questions revolving around what I just discussed?
I don't think I have any questions. I think that obviously, that 4%, just being able to recapture that would be amazing, and just by updating our software, which we're trying to look to do anyways. So I think that's amazing. Yeah,
awesome. I mean, I really think all of these solutions would really benefit you in the long run. And if it's all right with you, I've kind of formulated a recommendation based on your company structure of how Salesforce could be most beneficial and most effective for you, if that's okay for me sharing.
Absolutely.
So this is on the page, so it's easy to follow along. You guys have 3 hubs. So I'm recommending about 10 licenses at each hub, so that totals 30 licenses.
Okay.
And then you guys have your headquarters, and I think that 14 licenses at headquarters would be the perfect number for you guys, as well as right now you have 7 stores, and I think that 8 licenses per store would be great. So adding up all of those licenses together, that totals 100 licenses. And currently the rate per license at Salesforce is $1,800 each. So 100 licenses at $1,800 each, plus a startup fee, which is $30,000. You're looking at about $210,000 to implement the Salesforce system. And so I know that can seem like a hefty number, but if you look at the costs that we discovered just associated with the 3 topics of conversation, with the solutions that could be fixed, you're looking at $76 million, almost $76 million in costs. So I really think by implementing Salesforce, you could definitely mitigate those costs at just a fraction of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, this just pales in comparison to what we're losing already. So I definitely think that, this recommendation is perfect, and I appreciate all this information. And personally, I will be taking all of this back to the rest of my board and just, discussing this in a meeting with them, because I think that it's definitely a good opportunity for us to look into.
Okay, awesome. So in terms of next step, I know you mentioned having a meeting with your board. Is that something that I could sit in on just to be a fly on the wall or be a resource if you potentially needed?
Absolutely, because obviously, you understand our company, you understand Salesforce, and I would love to have you there. So we usually meet every Tuesday at about 3 p.m. Okay. So that will be at our headquarters store as well.
Okay, awesome. Is it okay if I just join you at that meeting?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and send you an email as soon as we get out of here. I'll use your card and forward you the information about that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for all of your time today, and I'm really looking forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, of course. Bye-bye.